Hello. I wanted, as we're getting ready for Sentinel Challenge, I want to do an experiment. If you have been attending Spout Springs Church for over a year, raise your hand. Hold it up. Okay, now look around. See, a lot of you think you're new. Recognize you're not. Okay? We have the joy of being a church in a military community, which means in a normal year, we lose 25 to 30% of our church. Because Uncle Sam says you need to be somewhere else now. Okay? But hold your hand up online too. Okay. It's about the same. And so a lot of times people come here and they be, oh, I've only been going there about a month and a half. Okay, that puts you on the right, you're on the chart. And when we start taking, hey, we need people we want people to really be, dig in and be part of something and contribute. And you're going, I can't be part of the Sentinel Challenge. I can't volunteer that. I've not been coming long enough. If you're here today, you've been coming long enough. You are welcome to go to the app, sign up, say I want to help out, and because we're getting ready, hopefully, to move back to 2 services pretty soon, and we're going to say, hey, we need people in First Impressions, and we need people to work in children's ministry as we do that. Have you been here long enough? Yeah, you've been here long enough. Yeah, just do the background check. We're good. All right, that's just so you understand where you are, because a lot of times people come in and they think this is a normal church. I don't know where exactly we're not on that chart as what normal looks like as far as churches go, okay? So anyway, and another thing that makes it interesting to live in this world now, this is I'm moving into the sermon after that initial announcement, is have you noticed that everybody's ticked off? If you haven't, I'm not sure where you've been. I saw a survey yesterday. 74%, which is basically 3 out of 4 people, said they are either somewhat or very angry. And the fun fact is, you say, well, I understand right now because of, but you know what the number was last year at this time? Same thing. We're angry, and we've been angry for a long time. And so we're talking in this series of reaching, of how can we be witnesses for Christ? How can we, by our lives and our words, tell other people about Jesus in a way that makes them want to have what we have for those of us who are Christians? How do we communicate that in a way that doesn't chase them off or make them madder, right? And you might say, well, wow, the world we live in, it's really tough to try to communicate your faith because people are so angry. They're always confrontational. They're always picking fights. How do you do it in a world where confrontation is normal? Well, here's the thing. Confrontation, when it came to the faith, was normal in the beginning of the church. If you go back to the very beginning, the book of Acts, which is the book in the Bible, which is about the earliest church stuff, you'll see that people were upset at them all the time. And so there's a time, and a guy named Paul's like big important person, and he's in a city, and there's a crowd that gets ticked off at him. We're trying new things today. The people who are this crowd rush to Jason's house, just a friend of Paul's, in search of Paul and Silas in order to bring them out to the crowd. But when they didn't find them, they dragged Jason. Who just is like, can you imagine you're at your house? They come to your house looking for somebody because they're mad at somebody. The somebody they're mad at isn't there, so they grab you. Okay, well, Paul's not here. You're close. Okay? They dragged Jason and some other believers before the city officials, shouting, these men who have caused trouble all over the world have now come here. It is Acts chapter 17. The church is 17 chapters old. Okay? That's not very old. And people are saying they've caused trouble all over the world. So conflict has always, at some level, been part of sharing our faith. Old Steve, you're going to tell me I'm allowed to get the big old Bible and go out and stand on the corner and hit people with it, right? Okay, so we're allowed to. Can I call them? Can I call them that name I've been wanting to call them? Huh? No. We never, ever find a case in the Bible or in life where we shout somebody to Jesus. It just doesn't happen. So how is it that we can communicate our faith? And by the way, as I'm going through this, I'm talking about how to communicate your faith in a culture that has a lot of conflict. If you pay close attention and just read between the lines a little bit, you'll find ways to live your life in general in a world that's full of conflict. I'm not going to go into those, but if you just pay attention and just fill in your own little blanks a little bit, you'll get there. And the first thing I want you to see about Christianity is the way we are, okay? We need to be aware there are unavoidable conflicts because we're Christian. Not fights, the conflicts. They had unavoidable conflicts. The ones we saw there was with the Jewish people. The Jewish people were really not happy with them. Here's something with the Jews. When Paul ends up at the very end, the book of Acts ends with our guy Paul in jail, because that's how a book should end, right? Your hero in jail. Honestly, you read Acts and go, where's the sequel? Really, you think it must be the second book of a trilogy. And it's not. He ends up in jail, but he's still pulling off the gospel stuff. He's still doing his work, but he's doing it from jail. And when he gets to Rome, which is where he's going to be put in jail, he gets there before the bad news can really get there. Nobody knows what's wrong with all these Christians. And he says, we want to hear what your views are, for we know that people everywhere are talking against this sect. The Jews are saying, we haven't heard anything specific. We just know that nobody likes you. That's a pretty good thing. We don't know much about this whole Christianity thing, except you are incredibly unpopular. And and there's reasons for that. Here, let me give you this. Let me leave this up for a little bit while I read it to everybody. The Jews were often, to the early Christians, openly hostile, belligerent, and saboteurs. They set out and intentionally undermined the work of the early church. I'm not talking Jews in general. I'm talking about the Jews in that day. A lot of them got really, really angry and worked to sabotage Christianity, okay? Because according to the Jews, Christians were tritheists, denying the core teaching of Judaism. Core teaching of Judaism is, behold, Israel, the Lord your God is one. And Christians say that God is Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit. Right? Well, that's denying their core teaching, and they're acting like they're one of us. So they're ticked, and they're fighting all the time with the Christians. They're just always, because there was a real problem there. But everybody else was upset at Christians at some point, and this is the part I want you to get, because I'll explain it to you in their culture, and then I'll bring it to ours, because there are certain things that we stand for that are necessarily different from what our culture believes, just like theirs was. See, for the Jews, for the non-Jews, there's a case Paul's before he gets to Rome. He's on trial before this guy named Festus, and Paul says to him, the Messiah would suffer, that's Jesus, and be the first to rise from the dead, and this way announce God's light to Jews and Gentiles alike. And suddenly Festus shouted, Paul, you are insane. Too much study has made you crazy. Paul, you don't have a screw loose. You don't have a screw tight. You're just completely bonkers. And see, for the rest of the population, for the non-Jews, Christians were monotheist in a polytheistic world, and I need to stop right there because a lot of you've heard that before. You know, back in Jesus' day, everybody believed in lots and lots of gods. There were many, many gods, and everybody believed in many gods. And you have this, and I've always kind of been this way, but then you just click a switch, and you become a monotheist who believes in just one God. You know, in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but still just one God. You got to understand, polytheism was ingrained in who they were and what they thought and how they functioned. It wasn't just this, because for us, we have this thing where we've got our religion and we've got our life. We've got our faith and we've got our normal existence. And we all tend to keep them somewhat separate. And they didn't have that concept. They didn't have the concept of your faith and your life not being completely intertwined. And everything they understood about their universe involved the idea that there were all these, what we would call small g gods, little gods. There were lots of them, and they were everywhere, and there were local ones here, and there were some over here. And if I went to this town, I needed to go in and make a sacrifice to the little god that was in control of this town. And if I went to this town, I needed to make a sacrifice to their god, too. I could bring mine along because they somehow got along, all of them. But it was enmeshed like roots. Have you ever, like digging in a forest? You start to dig down in a forest like you're going to bury a body or something. And, or whatever. Barry was telling me about this. And if you start to dig, they're just, you're not digging in dirt, are you? You're digging in roots. Because the roots are just enmeshed in a soil. Because for them, polytheism, the idea that there were multiple gods who were controlling little bits of the universe and little pieces, and each one had powers, and each one was here, and trying to serve those and understand those, and just an awareness. It was deep into their lives, their politics, the way they did business. Everything they had revolved around this idea that there were multiple gods, lots and lots and lots of them. And along come the Christians saying very loudly, oh, there's just one. Just one. How do I think? How do I comprehend? How do I make sense of the world if that's true? So Festus, for one thing, is saying, Paul, you're crazy because the world doesn't make sense if there aren't lots of little gods. Who's making all these things? Paul, if there are no gods, who's bringing the rain? When we sacrifice to the fertility gods so that we have children, who's making that happen? These crops, are these crops just growing themselves? No, they're coming up because we sacrifice to the local gods who control the crops and the rain and the wind. And so he's like, you're crazy. And then, they not only were we monotheists in a polytheistic world, we based everything on something that was impossible. Our faith's built on what? Well, see, there was this guy, and he died, and he was dead for like 3 days, and he got up. Now, all you guys are of mostly legal ages. You've been around. Some of you have been all over the world. Exactly how many people have you known or seen rise from the dead? I'm not talking somebody had a heart attack and their heart stopped for a few seconds or even a couple minutes. I'm talking somebody that was dead. Dead enough that they buried the person. Anybody? Anybody have a friend? Oh, yeah, I remember Tom when we were in school, man. Yeah, we got a little crazy that night, man. Yeah, the funeral was cool, and then we were in the middle of the funeral. He just got up. No, it's impossible. And our faith is built on that. So for their world, here's a faith that says there's only one God, and he rose from the dead. There's conflict there. Now, our culture has different ones because we're not, as a rule, polytheists. Polytheism pretty much, that's why you can't understand polytheism, is polytheism has pretty much died out, at least in the Western world. You're not going to find real, live, honest-to-goodness polytheists. You'll find weird theists, but you really will have trouble finding a true, honest-to-goodness, localized, polytheistic God's person. You're not going to find it, okay? But we are different, and that difference can create controversies. For one thing, I'll give you a few. We believe in universal truths. Hit it twice, I bet it done. A world of moral relativism. We believe there are certain things that are right and wrong. A lot of our culture doesn't believe there's things that are right and wrong. And if they do believe the things that are right and wrong, they don't believe the same things we believe. You'll see, I mean, our culture used to be really morally free. Oh, whatever you want to do, just do it. And then the hippies grew up, and they realized that wasn't working. But then they came up with their own set of rules that aren't our rules. And there's controversy there. There's always you've run into that, haven't you, at work, where you're having a discussion and you bring up something that you know is biblical. It is just, this is how the Bible teaches this. I'm not making it up. I'm not being a jerk. This is just what's taught in the Bible. And they're going, They believe something different. Well, there's a conflict there. Doesn't have to be a fight. You don't have to be angry, but there's a difference there, right? You've had that, okay? And we believe in, put them back up there. Community in a world of, well, I messed that up, didn't I? In a world of whatever, selfishness. What's the word I have on that blank there? Individualism. We're having so much technical fun these past few weeks. It's been just joy to have. Our Western world is insanely individualistic. I'm really individualistic, right? How it's all about me, my stuff, my career. If I'm being generous, my family. But people outside of that circle, it's like we believe that, our culture believes there's me, there's my family, there's my extended family. And the farther you get away from the center, the less people matter. I'm not saying you go around stomping on people and kicking their dogs. But the farther you get from that, the less important people are. We don't have community like they did. But the church talks about we all the time. This is how mind-blowingly weird their culture was compared to ours. Do you know what the number one punishment in the early church was for somebody who was living away from what they thought God should be doing in their lives? Who was living at odds with God's saying? You know what the number one punishment was? They probably put them in front of everybody and yelled at them. No. They said, you can't come to our church anymore. That's what they said. You can look it up. In the Bible repeatedly, they would say, if somebody holds this position, if somebody disagrees with you about the gospel, if somebody is living in this type of living arrangement that is opposed to what we believe, tell them they can't come anymore. Most Americans don't consider that a punishment. Do you mean I get to sleep in on Sunday? Really? Sweet. Because we're so individualistic, we don't see the need for community. And so here comes the church saying, yeah, it's about us. It's about what we do together. It's about me loving you. It's about me spurring you on to love and good works. It's about me encouraging you and challenging you. That's just really weird for our culture. So what do you do on Sunday? Well, Sunday we come in and we sit in rows, and there's this guy, he gets up front, and he tells us what we're doing wrong. And you do it on purpose? You show up, you only go once, right? No, I go every week. Do they give you stuff? No, they actually take up an offering. They actually ask us to give them money for this. I can hear Festus being transported from the past. You're crazy! Because it's all about individualism, and the third one, it's all about, in our culture, it's all about selfishness. It's all about me and my stuff and what I can collect and what I can gather, and it's all about me. And Jesus says weird stuff. Like if somebody hits you, let him hit the other cheek. If they slack like this, let him get the backhand. Really weird one. This is really weird one. This is because we remember that one. Turn the other cheek. We've all heard that one. But like the next one, Jesus is talking. He's continuing the same speech. He says, if somebody says they want you to walk with them a mile, and what that meant was, in their culture, the Roman Empire had come in and had taken over their land. So they were oppressed. They were taken over. The Romans took taxes from them, took their money, wouldn't let them do what they wanted to do, totally controlled them. And there was a law that a Roman soldier. You may know what you guys understand the concept of rucking, right? Okay. A Roman soldier could be rucking. He could be out carrying his stuff as he goes from one town to another. And he had the authority to walk up to anybody and say, I'm tired of carrying this. You carry it. And you had to carry it for 1 mile. True statement. Here's my backpack. Here's my sword. I'm going to walk free for 1 mile. You're going to be my caddy. And Jesus says, if a soldier comes up to you and says, carry my stuff for 1 mile, you carry it too. Just to show him that you're not playing by his rules. that you're more worried about him than he is about himself. And we live in a culture that's full of selfishness. So if you take those three things together, that extreme individualism, that selfishness, that moral vagueness, those permeate people. If you've been a Christian a long time, you're kind of used to the whole concept of, oh yeah, we believe in God's authority, we believe in community, and you forget that for most people in America and in the Western world, those three things, individualism, selfishness, and relativism, it's intertwined in their lives like the roots in a forest. And when we say we think you should accept Jesus, we're asking them to walk away from that. Okay? We're saying we want a complete change in your brain because Jesus wants to rewire the entire thing. And don't forget that. That's necessary. As you're telling people about Jesus, it's not just about, it is big about accepting Jesus as your Savior, but when Jesus comes into your life, he rearranges your furniture. And one of the things he rearranges is the way that you think. And if you're open to him and you're letting God's Spirit work in your lives, he is rearranging those things in your life. If you've been a Christian for a while, are you less selfish than you were when you first started? I hope so. Are you more concerned about community than you were when you first started? Okay? Those are the kind of things that happen. So recognize that there are things that people disagree with us about. But here's the thing. Just because you disagree doesn't mean you have to be disagreeable. Understand where these people are coming from. Understand that because they think differently doesn't make them stupid. It just means they think differently. Because the culture of the age thinks a certain way, and they think the way the culture thought. Paul goes into the Roman Empire, and he says stuff that's just crazy to them. What do you mean one God and his son rose from the dead? I don't get it. Let me explain it to you. Let's talk about it, and let me show it to you as we saw last week over and over. Let's reason about it. Let me show you the reasonableness of what I'm saying and move you toward accepting, okay? So, some conflict is necessary, but some's not. And we need to educate people about misunderstandings. Because there are things that people think about Christianity that are wrong. Have you run into that? I run into it all the time. like you talk to, what do you not like? Why don't you want to be part of a church? Or what do you not like about Christianity? And I don't like all the rules, and I can't stand the judgmentalism and the hypocrites. Right? Now about the second one, can't stand judgmentalism and hypocrites. Yeah, Jesus is with you on that one. He is not a fan. And as far as rules, we won't talk about it here, but we say here, we're not talking about rules. We're talking about understanding God's principles and God's personality and reflecting that in the way we live. It's not about rules, it's about reflecting God. But people are misunderstand that. People get all upset and they're all crazy about that, and that's what they think. And you need to understand that your job is to educate them a little bit. Okay? It's not to yell, no, we're not. You're just stupid. Okay, let's think for just a second. In your lifetime, how many times has you changing your mind about something been immediately preceded by the person calling you stupid? How many times has somebody called you an idiot and you went, oh, you're right. I'm so glad you pointed that out. No, when somebody calls you one of those names, you put up every wall you've got. Matter of fact, I'm probably one of these people where I have been completely wrong about something. I'll tell a story to somebody else. I was having a discussion. I was on the newspaper staff when I was in college. I was sports editor, I believe, at that time. And I'm talking to the sponsor, the person who was in charge of the newspaper, and we were talking about it was semi-political, but at some point she told me later. I mean, she got mean. She was like attacking me, and afterwards she said, "Yeah, I realized halfway through you were right. I wasn't going to back down." So she just took the volume up a few notches. And I was like, we've all done that. Right? But most of the time, when somebody calls us that, we're not about to admit we're wrong. We're not, and so that's why I said educate. We don't yell at people. And you want to know how you educate people about Christianity? Facebook posts. No. Oh, yeah, that's it. Tweets? TikTok. Instagram. No. You want to re-educate people about Christianity? The best way to re-educate people about Christianity is by living an authentic Christian life. If they think Christians are judgmental and you're not, at first they think you're the weird outlier. They go, I really don't like Christians, but you're not bad. And then they get to know you, realize just how screwed up you are, and that you're still not judgmental, and they're like, oh, well, that's interesting. But how do you do that? How do you live that faith? I'll give it to you real quick. Paul says in Timothy about the Scripture. Scripture is God-breathed. God speaks into our lives through it, and it changes us. It makes us able to do the things he wants us to do. It's 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. Let me give you a 4-step process toward living your faith in a way that changes people's minds about things. Step 1, read the book. Step 1. It's actually step 2 and step 3. But we'll just put all three in one. Step 1, read the book. Step 2, read the book. Step 3, read the book. Okay. On step 4, read the whole book. Okay? Then as you're reading, you look for the principles. What is this telling me about God and about me? What can I learning about God's principles for living? Apply those principles and repeat. You can do that for the rest of your life, right there. That's it. That's how you do it. Read the book, identify the principles, apply the principles, and repeat. We believe this so much, I believe this so much, that once a year we do something called 4 Weeks in the Word, where we all together give out a reading plan, and everybody reads it, and everybody says, okay, let me read this section, let me identify the principles in it, how can I apply that in my life today? And then you write it down. We've got notebooks and all the stuff that you need so that you can actually get in the habit. And we do it 4 weeks because I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it. It was on the internet. Actually, I heard it before the internet. If you do something for more than 21 consecutive days, it becomes a habit. And I don't know if that's true for you, but it's true for a lot of people. If you can just get yourself to do something for 3 weeks consecutively, you've established a habit in your life. So we make it 4 weeks in the Word, so you've got a little bit of extra time. And so by the end of that, hopefully you've established, hey, you know what? I can do this reading the Bible every day thing. Because you know how cool it would be if there were like a whole church full of people that were reading the Bible, identifying the principles, and living them in their lives continuously. What would that do to the community around you if there was an entire church full of people that every day they were reading the Bible, identifying the principles, and applying them to their lives? I bet it'd be good. Because I bet if enough people, enough Christians started actually doing that, the people who think all Christians are hypocrites would start going, well, they can't all be hypocrites because I know 7 of them that aren't. Right? So we're going to start that in October. We'll get more information. We have videos every day that somebody else in the church does, like a 1 to 2 minute video where they've read that passage, the same passage everybody else is reading, and here's how they're going to apply it in their lives. It's really cool. And by the way, if you'd like to do one, we've got a few slots open. If you'd like to, hey, that'd be kind of cool to just hold my phone up and shoot a video where I talk about this Bible verse. If you want to do that, let me know. Steve at spoutsprings.org, and we'll line you up. We'll get you one, and you can shoot a video. We've had people who become part of the church community because they shoot one of those videos. They're like, that's cool, and they do it, and next thing you know, everybody knows them a little bit. And it's pretty cool. Okay, so anyway, that's coming because there's so much misunderstanding, the education that we have to do for people. All right, I've been nice. Oh, it's called 4 Weeks in the Word in case you want a logo. All right, you ready? Are your seats in the upright and locked position, or your seat belts fastened? Because there's another reason people get mad at Christians. And we should quit creating controversies. We should quit creating controversies. I swear, it seems like I know Christians, and they're just going out of their way to find ways to make people mad at them. And they're looking for ways to get upset too. How can I be upset today? Like I said, think about this for a second. A year ago, were things slightly different in America a year ago? Think back, what was happening in America 1 year ago? Okay, we were still in the COVID thing. There was the potential for vaccines, and there was, I don't know, was there an election coming up? It seemed to recall there was an election coming up. Okay? 74%-ish of people in America were ticked off. Year later, is there an election coming up? Not right now. No, we're good on that one. What about a vaccine? Got one. What's everybody now? 74% are mad. We just found different stuff to be mad about. I can't be mad about that anymore. I'll be mad about this. There are so many people out there choosing to be mad, and there are Christians in the game going out there finding ways to be mad. I'll tell you what, I occasionally scan Facebook because my blood pressure is getting low. And I'm like, I need it pulsing, right before a workout. I'll read some Facebook, and I'm ready to go. Folks, my goodness, I don't know if you remember this. There's an obscure passage in the Bible, which it's a prophecy that gets fulfilled in Jesus, and it only shows up really those times when nobody comes to church, like, I don't know, Christmas. When it says that Jesus is the Prince of what? Really? Did anybody tell his followers he's the Prince of Peace? Did that get out? Did we keep that a secret? Did we do too good a job of keeping that? Did we make it just because did we only talk about it once a year so everybody forgets from December until December? He's not the Prince of aggravation. He's not the Prince of taking people down. He's not the Prince of annoying people into loving Jesus, which is a really winning strategy, by the way. I mean, how many here came to Christ because somebody annoyed you so much that you finally said, I want to be like that person? It's not a whole lot. Anybody online? I became a Christian because everybody was annoying me, because those Christians were so annoying. So, I'm sorry. I'm angry. Did I mention I'm in the 74%? I'm firmly in the 74%. I just rotate between slightly angry and significantly angry. I just go back and forth. That's all I do anymore. And like I said, if it gets a little too low, Facebook or Twitter will get me right back up there. Okay? This is going to be, so do your best. Turn your anger reflex down slightly, because I want to tell you what causes a lot of it. Okay? Because one of the ways we create controversies without meaning to is when we mix Christianity with other stuff. Other things in life, other things in the culture, when we mix them together, we will necessarily be angry and make other people angry. Here, I'm going to give you a picture of this. Let's pretend you're a kindergarten teacher. Some of you started twitching, I know. So you're a kindergarten teacher and you got a school field trip. Not a school field trip, your class field. You're taking your kindergarten class to a museum. As it turns out, there are 20 children who get the forms in and show up that day. So you got 20 kids, you're taking them to a museum, and it's one of those touchy-feely, walk-around-all-day museums. Okay, they're going to be there most of the day. You got lunches, the whole thing. And you get your 20 kids to the museum, and as your bus pulls up, another bus from another school pulls up, and it's another kindergarten class with 20 children. So both groups come together to the same museum, and they're wandering around together all day long. Now, at the end of the day, will your day be considered a success if when you get back to your school, you have 18 of your children and 2 children from the other kindergarten school? Okay, your other two kids are safely on the other bus. Don't worry, they didn't get left in the museum. Your two kids are on the other bus, and you've got two of theirs. They've got two of yours. You got 90% of your children got back to the school. Right? That sounds like a win to me. 90%, I don't know what your scoring mechanism is. That's either an A- or a B+, which is, well above passing. Is that a win? No. No, it's not. Christians have a bad habit of moving into a sphere in our culture, bringing 20 principles with them. And in hanging out in our culture, we jettison 2 of our principles and grab 2 from the other team and come back to school. We've only got 18 out of 20, and we think it's a win. But we don't mix Christianity with anything. There's a really great passage about it. It's sort of hidden. I like how some things you got to dig because they're kind of hidden. And there's one, and it's right between 2 very, very important events in the book of Joshua. And Joshua is getting ready. They've come in, just to give you the background, they've come out of all the time they were in the desert. They're getting ready to move into the promised land for the first time. They're bringing the nation along. There's a city called Jericho, and they're the number one obstacle. They have to beat Jericho. And Joshua's the leader, and he goes out to do some reconnaissance. And he's walking around, and he looks, and as he's walking around, Joshua sees a guy. And Joshua goes up to the guy who's got a sword and says to him, "Are you with us or for our adversaries? Are you on our side or their side?" And the dude replies, "No, I'm commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come." And Joshua fell down on his face to the earth and worshipped. What does my Lord say to this servant? Okay, let me tell you one of the things we mix, and I'm just sorry. I'm going to tick off people. It's just, you're already angry. What the heck? Okay? Don't mix Christianity with politics. Because what invariably happens is you go in with good intentions. Now, I'm not saying don't be influential in politics. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't have opinions. I'm not saying don't speak to issues. But what happens is you bring your 20 principles in your bus to the political agenda situation, and what happens after you wander around long enough is you end up jettisoning 2 of your principles and bringing in 2 of theirs. And when you get back, it may be 3, and maybe 4, and maybe 5, and when you get back, you don't have 100% Christianity. You have your political party's version of Christianity. Okay, I've already got you ticked, so let's just go ahead. I'll give you 2 examples because I like to tick off everybody. I like to be equal opportunity in the way that I offend. I don't think I should be a mono offender. I think I should be a poly offender. It's from earlier in the sermon. Hope you're paying attention. Okay? I'm going to go along to tell you this thing that's just going to make you mad, so I'm a genius. Both sides. Our current president claims to be a Christian, has some evidence of living a life of faith, and I'm not here to judge people whether or not they're authentic. He claims to be a Catholic. He goes to Mass. I'm not here to judge. I'm wheat and tares. He just told us don't judge whether this person's faith is authentic. However, the Catholic Church and the conservative Christian church like ours, evangelical, whatever phrase you want to believes and strongly that the Bible teaches that abortion is wrong, that we're not supposed to. Life begins at conception, and it is wrong to kill an unborn child. Now, if something like that happened in your life, we're also really big on forgiveness. Okay, so don't think I'm judging. I'm just saying that we believe this. And the best of my knowledge, and by the way, this is something I pray for regularly. Joe Biden drove his faith bus, in my opinion, up to the political grounds, took it then, left his sanctity of life values at the door, and took back the pro-abortion stuff from there. I believe that's what happened, which creates problems and anger and makes his faith less attractive because he's decided, I'm going to jettison those principles. I have other friends who are also real live, honest to goodness Christians who drive their faith bus up to the political realm, and they want to hang out with the Republicans. And so they'll be sitting with the Republicans, and they keep 18 of the kids. But Bible's really, did you know that the Bible is, and I'm going to say this and you're going to get upset, and I'm not really sorry. I'm not going to be a curmudgeon, but I'm not going to be sorry because I'm speaking truth. The biblical case for the fact that we're supposed to care for foreigners is 3 times stronger than the biblical case against abortion. I'm just reading the book. I mean, I'm not making it up. I'm saying if you start here and read here from here to here, it's in the beginning all the way to the end. It is a constant teaching of the Word of God. And I've got friends who are more, in this area, I won't say that, in this area are more Republican than Christian. Because they've decided to jettison what the Bible clearly teaches so they'll fit in their political party. My job is to make everybody upset. So I'm going to tell you how, if you decide you mix your Christianity with the Democratic politics, I'll tell you some of the ways you're going to screw up your faith. And I'll also tell you if you're going to mix your religion, your Christianity with a Republican party, how it's going to screw up your faith. And I'm going to stand in the middle, and I'm going to tell both parties, you're doing this wrong because thus saith the Word of God. Okay? That's my job. I don't know if you know this. My job is not to pick and choose what principles from the Word of God I teach you. My job is to teach you the whole counsel of God so that you can go out there and live it in a way that you bring all 20 kids back to your bus. And if you don't like it, I don't have a choice. I didn't volunteer. By the way, I didn't volunteer to be a pastor. God said, Steve, I want you to be a pastor. The whole story is God saying, I'm saying, I don't want to. And he's saying, I want you to do it. I'm saying, I don't want, can I do this? And no. I didn't volunteer for this job. And God said, you do this. And so my job is to, this is the whole thing. This is the book. I read the book constantly. If I find a part of the book I don't, right now I realize the book of Lamentations, which all of you guys are big fans of. You big Christians are all like, Lamentations is my favorite. I don't know Lamentations that well. I'm going to spend the next few months studying the book of Lamentations because I don't know it well enough. I'm not saying we'll do a sermon series on it. I need to know it. Make sense? I hope I'm not being too weird for you. But my job is to know the book and teach the book. It's not to conform to any other group. So when I want you to drive your bus up, I want you to go in and be part of politics. I want you to speak into politics. If that's what you feel called to, if you want to do it, speak into it. But be Christian. Okay? And this I shouldn't even say this one, but I'm going to say it real quick, okay? Because there's a tendency to mix Christianity with patriotism. Now, I'm a patriot. And I'm saying this the day after 9/11. To a group of people who a lot of us are struggling because, 9/11 happening a minute after that debacle of leaving Afghanistan. There's some anger there. But understand something. Okay, let me just say what Paul said. He said, our citizenship is in heaven. And from it we await a Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm going to say this. It's real quick. It's going to be hard for you to digest. And the Bible teaches we are to live in a nation where God places us. We are to support that nation, encourage that nation, pray for the success of that nation, work for the success of that nation, defend that nation. Okay, it is very clear. It is a noble profession to defend your nation by serving in the military. That is a noble biblical profession, okay? I'm not denying that for a second. All I'm saying is this. Because our primary citizenship is in heaven, God has the right to tell any one of us, because he's God, I want you to move to a different country. I want you to become a citizen of that country, and I want you to advance my kingdom there. Now, for Americans, that's hard to hear, because and I don't think our church has a problem with this. I don't think this is a big deal here, but I want to say it because I don't want it to be a problem here. Okay? We are Christians who serve God in America because that we pray for the success of America, we work for the success of America, we root for our team in the Olympics, okay? We do all that stuff. We stand, we proudly have our men and women who serve in the military and defend our country with their own lives. We one person that we know of in our church give the ultimate sacrifice. There is a monument to that person in our church. There is a sign upstairs, a sign upstairs with his picture on it. There's a flag and a cross and a plaque. Okay? But we can never let that go above our faith. We can never. I've heard people recently say things like that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are inspired the way the Bible's inspired. No. They're good. They're cool. I think they did a great job. I think Jefferson was on his game when he did the Declaration of Independence. I think Madison was kicking butt when he did the Constitution. I really do. And I think the way Washington engineered things to make sure the Bill of Rights happened, good job, dude. Great stuff. Not inspired. Not the way we mean God breathed. Okay? So that one was me not wanting to offend you, but just to point you in the right direction. Okay? Did I do okay? Just say yes, because I really feel that that's. I know I'm walking on glass when I go into those areas, but it's important that we talk about those things. Okay? And then finally, one more thing that we mix, and I'll do it real fast because I'm already way over. Don't mix Christianity with materialism. I know a lot of Christians who seem to think if I live for Christ right, I'm going to get a lot of stuff. If I live for God, my life's going to be easy. I'm going to get lots of stuff. Now, I don't like using the word blessed even. God's been very good to me. I have a beautiful house. I have a lovely family. I have, nice good cars. We're not rich, but we're doing fine, okay? So I'm not saying that it's wrong to have good stuff. I am saying that if God believes it's the right thing, he'll take it away from me. And again, he has the right to do it. I am under his command. He can tell me to do anything, and my response is supposed to be, yes, sir, including giving away everything I have, if that's what he chooses. Now, he doesn't seem to be choosing that I do that. He keeps blessing me with cool stuff, but he has the right to say, yeah, you've had it long enough. Somebody else's turn to have this stuff. Okay? And when we start pursuing money over against our faith, when we pursue politics over and against our faith, okay? When we pursue anything over against our faith, anytime we go into any sphere, our work sphere, any other sphere, and we don't come out with all 20 of our kids from the kindergarten class, we're doing it wrong and we're creating controversy because it just doesn't work right when we don't present a unified thing of who we are. Does that make sense? Have I been too mean to you today? Somebody say no, just because I need, affirmation. I'm a very delicate human being. No. You need to hear these things because there are people out there who are telling you, no, here, take your Christianity. That's not really Christian. Let me take that from you and give you something else. And they'll destroy you. They'll destroy your faith. And they'll ruin any opportunity you have to tell other people about Jesus. And that's what we're here for. We're here because there are people who are lost, who need Jesus, and they need us to point because there ain't nobody doing it, right? I mean, there are other Christians, there are other churches, but we need to be pointing people to Jesus. We need to be helping the least, reaching the lost. We need to be doing that. We can't decide not to. And so, let's just remind ourselves what we talked about real fast. We said, number one, there are things in your faith that are controversial. Okay? Just recognize that. Don't be mean about it. Don't be obnoxious about it, but recognize there are parts of my faith that are different than what our culture believes. There are times when people misunderstand Christianity, and my job is to live my faith in such a way that I defeat their mistakes. And there are times, if I'm not careful, I can create controversies. And that's never my job. My job is to live authentically for Christ 100%, to take all 20 of my kids into the cultural sphere and bring all 20 of them back. not mixing at all. Okay? So I've talked a lot. Has God said anything to you today? As I was talking, I call it the holy elbow. Was there something I said? I want you to go back and just retrace what we've talked about the whole way through. Was there a point at that where God went, not your spouse, not the spousal elbow, the Holy Spirit. Did God at any point go, here it is. Deal with that. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Deal with it. During this next song, you may want to go pray at that cross and just acknowledge, God, you showed me something today. You taught me something that I need to be applying. How can I do it? Show me how I can live this the right way. Okay? Also, by the way, if you're not a Christian, you like to have a relationship with Christ. All I've described, you're going, you know what? That's interesting. I want to know more about that. If you'd like to have a relationship with Christ, if you're in the auditorium, we have these blue bags. We have some different places in the front and the back. I do the stewardess thing over here and here. And if you grab a blue bag, if you want to talk to somebody about having a relationship with Christ, you grab a blue bag. We'll connect you with someone. They'll take 7, 8, 10 minutes, walk you through the bag, show you how to have a relationship with Christ. Okay, very simple. If you want to be baptized, by the way, the easiest thing if you're in the auditorium is just grab a blue bag, and that'll get us talking. Okay. If you're online, if you'd like to have a relationship with Christ, send an email to steve@spousesprings.org. If you'd like to be part of our church, you'd like to, hey, this sounds like an interesting place. I'd like to connect here. One way to do that is to have an orientation chat with me. Just send me or one of the elders or staff. Email steve@spousesprings.org. We'll set it up. We'll talk for an hour. We'll talk about what God's been doing in your life, your path, your journey. We'll talk about what God's doing at this church and how we can work together to do things that matter. Okay? What else? Oh, yeah. If you want to take communion during the next song, there's a station right there. All right? Can I pray for us? Because we need it. Father, thank you for your word. Father, thank you that you don't leave us alone. That sometimes you poke us where we don't want to be poked. That you remind us of things that we need to know. Pray, Father, help us to live our faith in a real way. Help us to share our faith in a real way. Even in a world that is angry and confrontational, help us to be lights of your love. Help us to show that we are, in fact, children of the Prince of Peace. And Father, we have some of our family that are deployed or long-term TDY in some dangerous places. We pray keep them safe, bring them home soon with their families, encourage them. And Father, help us to be the people you created us to be. It's in Jesus' name I pray.